Jenny is 6 years old in first grade, and her parents find out at parent-teacher conferences that academically Jenny is behind. Her teacher and her progress will be discussed at the conferences in the spring. Throughout the next coming months, Jenny's teacher informs her parents that they will utilize special programs throughout the year to help her meet grade level expectations. Jenny attends Reading Recovery, where she gets one-on-one assistance with her reading, and her parents employ a tutor to assist her with math, spelling, and handwriting. It is now time for parent-teacher conferences, and her parents' hope is crushed when they are informed that Jenny is still behind. They now wonder what to do. Should they go ahead and place her in second grade, despite her not being academically ready, which the principal called academic progression, or should they hold her back and have her repeat first grade, also known as retention? When a student without a learning disability has fallen behind academically, academic progression has become the automatic answer, but retention can be the best solution for that student. Many will argue that the drawbacks of retention outweigh the benefits. However, retaining a student during kindergarten through second grade gives them an opportunity to master concepts, grow both socially and academically, and become a more successful, well-rounded student. Hello, my name is Cheryl Broderson, and I will be speaking to you about the necessity of retention. A common question is, when would a child need to be retained? To begin, a student would need to be retained because they lack the competencies to succeed in the next grade level. There are a multitude of reasons for this, but the main two are the ability to learn at the structured pace and absences. For the student that takes longer to grasp certain concepts important in their academic education, such as basic math facts and reading skills, it is imperative that they are retained. Due to the differing rates at which each individual child learns, they may fall behind academically, and at year end, they still are just not ready for the next grade. Even if a student receives supplemental support through tutors and specialized programs such as Reading Recovery, they still may be unprepared. There are two options that are available for students who learn at a slower pace. They can progress to the next grade, where they will continue to receive the supplemental support in the academic areas they are lacking, all the while being taught new concepts, or they can be retained. It would be preposterous to make a child learn new concepts when they are still struggling with the ones from the previous year, so holding them back a year is the obvious answer. A second reason that a student may need to be retained is if they have missed too many days of school. Excessive absences result in missed learning concepts necessary for the next grade, which is why they should not move on. In college, even if a student attends their class enough that attendance-wise they pass, if their coursework does not meet satisfactory or passing standards, they will have to retake the course. Unfortunately, this is not the case in earlier education. Academic progression, because retention is frowned upon in earlier years, has become the answer for the students who are academically behind. Whether it is because they do not learn at the standard pace or they have fallen behind due to the amount of school missed throughout a school year, they end up progressing to the next grade. This happens because there are those who argue that being held back is emotionally damaging to the student. For example, they have stigmas associated to them such as being dumb and therefore get teased or picked on, which they say can lower self-esteem. The idea that retention is emotionally damaging to the student could be true in the later years, but if a child is retained in kindergarten through second grade, they are able to adapt to change easier. According to a Psychology in the Schools article, children who are retained would greatly benefit from a solid support system. It went on to say that the whole idea of holding a child back is not a bad idea, but maybe that the characteristics of each student are what makes retention unsuccessful for the individual. If a parent is concerned at how retention would affect their child emotionally, they can put into place a solid support structure for that child. Although the argument of emotional damage is the one heard most often, another reason that some oppose retention is that a few studies conducted here in the U.S. have shown that retention does not benefit the student long term. According to these specific studies, there are short-term improvements in their reading scores, but they say as time progresses, the scores level out to match those of students in the same grade. It can be said that the retention will not make a child a genius, but rather give them a better grasp on concepts they do not understand. For reading scores to temporarily improve shows that they can read at grade level, maybe even a bit above, but as time goes on, their scores level out to match those in the same grade, which would not have happened if they had been pushed into the next grade rather than retained. In Texas, a study was conducted composed of 769 students who were below grade level in literacy skills at the end of first grade. A total of 165 students were retained, while the remaining 604 went on to second grade. Comparatively, students that were retained required less supplemental services than those that went on to second grade. Obviously, the second year at the same grade level provided the chance to master the literacy skills they needed. When a child is promoted to the next grade and not given that second chance, they are placed on IEPs, or individualized education plans. Basically, this is when a child's education is modified to their learning capabilities. While the rest of the class is being tested on 20 spelling words each week, the child on the IEP is given 10 spelling words. In another study, 300 retained students that were held back in kindergarten or first grade were followed over a 5-year period. Results showed that almost 70% of these students never received an IEP. A child can have a modified education all the way through college if, through testing, they qualify. This prepares our students for failure in the future. When they graduate and get a job based on their resume and interview and find out after a couple of weeks that the workload is too much, no one is going to modify it for them. In this day and age, there is a line of capable candidates that will replace them. Less than 20 years ago, retention was the automatic answer, not academic progression. An article written by Vivian Stewart that discussed a rise in Asian education stated that the United States is now ranked 25th in math, 14th in reading, and 17th in science, where we once were one of the top countries in education. Clearly, we need to reevaluate our education system. Retention is the best answer for a student who has fallen behind. Ms. Kathy Brandt, a kindergarten teacher with more than 30 years of teaching retained students, said that one major benefit of retention is that it gives the child a chance to grow and mature without the added pressure of being behind everyone else. She continued to say that an additional year provides the child an opportunity to learn at their pace and grasp the skills necessary to advance. She said that they showed improvement and did not demonstrate any negative behaviors that could be associated with retention. Our current education system needs reform in order to benefit the students. If a child who has fallen behind academically has received supplemental support and still has not met grade level expectations, that child should be retained. As one can see, the benefits outweigh the drawbacks, and in a nation where a college degree is almost a necessity, the academic ability of our children should be our main concern. The fact is, if a child is behind academically in kindergarten, first or second grade, and not retained, the child will be continuously behind. Passing children from grade to grade who have not mastered the basic reading, writing, and arithmetic skills dooms them to a school experience fraught with frustration, difficulty, and continued struggle. Retention is a method of providing the best, most effective educational experience with demonstrated results in academic success. This is a statistic we cannot and should not ignore. While retention is the best answer now for children who have fallen behind academically, ability-based learning should be considered for the future. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it.